Welcome back.
Hi everybody. So we're coming at you live, well not really live, but we're coming at you from Saguaro National Park in Arizona today. Beautiful setting. We're having a lot of fun in our van, and as we promised last week, this is our part 2 video kind of. We did a video last week about 10 things we love about our van. We've been living in our van now for 3 months, and we also have 10 things that maybe we'd do a little bit different if we were to do it over again. Number 1, we positioned our faucet on the left side of the sink just because of the way the dimensions worked out for the sink and the countertop. The problem is we're both right-handed, and when we reach for that faucet handle and turn the water on, if we're not careful, we can get water all over our wrist. So we would think about that and do it a little bit differently next time.
Number 2, the position of the electrical outlets. In the kitchen, by the sink, the faucet being on the left-hand side, the outlets sit right behind the faucet. So when you go to access it, the faucet's right in your way and you can't access the outlets. Or it's really difficult. You have to kind of reach around. So what we would have done different is put the faucet on the right-hand side of the sink, and then we would have access to the outlets.
Yep. Live and learn. Number 3 is we have this great USB charging port. It's got 4 outlets on it. It's very convenient. We can charge our phones, we can charge bike lights, we can charge camera batteries, we can charge all kinds of things, and it's great. The only problem, again, speaking of position, everything here is about position apparently. This thing being above the table, these cords get in your way if you want to do anything at the table. If you want to eat, if you want to work on something, if you're writing some notes or whatever, there's all these cords in the way. And if this outlet would have been positioned right down here below the table, then all of these cords would not be in your way, and you'd be able to position your devices on the table here and be able to go about your work without all the cords in the way. So
Tim is very particular about his cords. I know that when I have my phone plugged in somewhere, and if it's draped down where you can bump it, or where it's going to make the phone fall on the floor or something, he's like all keyed into that. So cords, super important.
Yeah. Cords hanging off the edge of a table are just inviting disaster.
Yes.
Unless they're hanging on this side of the table where you're not going to kick them. So that's good too.
Number 4, pipe thread sealant. When we went to the hardware store looking for something to seal up our water tank connections, the hardware salesman said to use Teflon tape. So that's what we did. And it wasn't, 2 or 3 weeks we're down here, and I noticed that there was the wood around our tank was wet. So we had a leak somewhere. So what we would have done differently is used the sealant around all the connections instead of the Teflon tape.
And so there's a theme going here now, a new theme. Pipe thread sealant leads right into number 5, disconnects for the water tank. So that ended up being quite a mess. We had to find the leak. We didn't know where the leak was. And as it turned out, we emptied our garage in the Lowe's hardware parking lot, and we ended up removing that water tank just to find where the leak was. And the problem was a lot of the plumbing fixtures coming in and going out of the water tank were permanent fixtures. I had PVC pipe that I had to cut with a hacksaw just to get that thing out of there. And we had to get it out because around the front side where we could not reach was where we needed to check the fittings and do some sealing. So when you're working on your water tank, you might really seriously consider putting quick disconnects on all the fittings going in and out, just to make it easier to remove and replace that water tank.
Okay, so number 6 is with our do-it-yourself composting toilet. We love this composting toilet, but one thing we wish we would have done differently is made it more watertight. So if we had put a board underneath it and then sealed it with some caulking, that would contain any potential overflow problems. It would contain it in the box. As it stands right now, if there's an overflow issue, then it goes everywhere. And that's one of our items on our to-do list to get fixed
Pronto.
soon. Yeah.
Number 7, we have this beautiful cedar paneling. It's 1/4 inch tongue and groove cedar. It looks beautiful. It was easy to put up, but it's not very strong. It's cedar, and cedar is a soft wood, and it's already splitting in many places. Also, because cedar is so soft, I can't really mount anything to it. So when we want to put overhead cabinets or something heavy like that on the wall, we won't be able to mount it to this stuff because cedar's not strong enough to hold it. So if we were to do this again, we'd probably do pine or some other kind of wood that is a little bit stronger and more substantial.
Number 8, swivel seat adapters. Wished we would have spent a little bit more time researching the swivel seat adapters. They're just kind of clunky and they squeak and they're difficult to turn and maneuver. It's not a smooth, nice, just turn the seat around. Love having swivel seats, but just wish we would have spent a little bit more time figuring out what else we had available to us.
Number 9, one of the things we have in our van is shore power capability. So we can plug in a big heavy cable from a campground or an RV park or from somebody's garage or whatever, and we can get 120 volts AC power right into our electrical system. And it plugs into a outlet on the outside of the van, which is held in place by 4 screws. That should be done in such a way that the screws go from the outside of the van inside, and then on the inside of the van you put the nut and the washer on the end of that screw. The problem I had was it's a real tight recessed area down in there under the bed where I would have had to reach way back with these little tiny nuts and washers to get them on there, and I was afraid I would drop them and then lose them forever into the insulation below. So I thought, oh, heck with it, I'll just put the screws going the other direction. Put the screw in from the inside of the van and put the washer and the nut on the outside. And that works great, except that when you're tightening the retaining ring to hold that plug on that outlet, your fingertips are running past the threads on the end of those little screws, and it's very uncomfortable, and I think we could actually cut ourselves on those threads if we weren't careful. So if you are faced with this same issue, I would just say gather up some patience and be very careful. Put the screws in from the outside and very carefully put the washer and the nut on the inside so that then you won't have that issue when you're tightening your retaining ring.
So number 10, last but not least, our countertop. The countertop that we chose was just kind of a split-second decision because we were running out of time. We needed a countertop. It was inexpensive. I think it was like $30. It was like some pine boards that were compressed together to a larger board, and we thought this will work. So we used that to begin with.
And we planned that knowing all along that it would be temporary. We just didn't know how temporary. So here we are 3 months into this, and 2 weeks ago we ended up replacing that countertop. It was starting to warp. It was getting stained. It was ugly.
We were also concerned about what to, I guess, cure the countertop with, and we had some conditioning oil that we used, and it just didn't repel the water. It was food grade, which you want, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah, we put a whole bottle of that oil on. We'd put it on and wait 12 hours, 24 hours, and it looked like we hadn't put anything on.
Yeah.
We'd put some more on, and we went through a whole bottle, and it still looked like bare wood, which maybe isn't exactly the countertop's problem or the countertop's fault, but
yeah.
Anyway, so 2 weeks ago we put in a new countertop, and it's beautiful, and guess what? we moved our faucet. So it's no longer on the wrong side of the sink, and it's no longer in the way of the outlets behind it. So anyway, I guess number 10 would be, don't do a temporary countertop. Have some patience, just take the time and do it right the first time, and you'll just be so glad you did.
Thanks for watching our video today.
Okay, do that again. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks for watching our video today.
Yeah, if this video was helpful, show some love. Give us a thumbs up. That would really help us out.
And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button.
And keep an eye out, because next week we got one more video coming on our van build overhead cabinets. So that should be in about 1 week, I think. So till then, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Why do you keep looking at me?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I want to clip those nose hairs.
Oh, okay.
Oh.